Howdy folks, Dan Prepper here. Today I'm going to be doing a video on what to look for, mostly for new Mosin Nagant, people who are interested in buying their first Mosin Nagant or going out and looking for something maybe that that's a little different than what they have, but it's really geared towards first-time buyers for Mosin Nagants and what to look for when going out to buy one. The first two things you're really going to look for. The first thing is going to be, I don't know if you can see this, it's a hex receiver. This is the receiver right here, and it has a hexagonal receiver. See that it's got some squared off sides here as you turn it, versus most of them, which are round receivers, and that's just a perfectly round receiver. The hex receivers were made mostly prior to about 1935, 36. Most of them are prior to that. They switched over to the round receivers because the round receivers were a little bit stronger, I think, and just made the rifles last a little better. But the hex receivers are the first thing you're going to look for. If you can find one in a batch with regular, at the same price as all the other ones, and you find one that's a hex, pick it up. Most every place that you go now separates the hex receivers into their own category and sells them at an elevated price. So if you can find one at the same price as another one, and that's a fair price for the Mosin, get it. Absolutely grab the hex receiver. The next thing you're going to look for is the arsenal mark. The arsenal mark is going to be found right in this area here. The Tula has a star with an arrow in it, and the Tula mark, you can't see it on here, I'm going to show you a picture in a minute. The Tula is more rare. This is what the Tula is going to look like right here. It's going to have this symbol on it. Look closely at your arsenal mark. If it's got that, pick it up. The Tula is more desirable than the Ishavek, which is the main other one you're going to run into. And the Ishavek, I had to draw the symbol, so forgive me here, is this symbol right over here. And it's a triangle, a small triangle with an arrow in it. It almost looks like the number 1 in it because the triangle is so small. On my Ishavek, right here, all my Ishaveks, it's a very small triangle under the date, whereas on the Tulas, the star is above the date stamp. Keep an eye on your dates too. If you find a date prior to 1928 or earlier, then what you've got, everything made prior to 1928 was a Dragoon, and so any one that you have is going to be an X-Dragoon, which have an elevated value as well. So if you get one dated prior to 1928, those are at a premium. So pick those up too. If you can find a hex, Tula, X-Dragoon, you're golden, because that's 3 premium value things in one. I'm going to go to a little bit of an advanced one, but if you can find it, I don't know if you can see this or not. If you find a square here, let's see if I can figure out how to work this. Over here, a square with an SA in it. The SA is an indication of it's a fin capture, and the fin captures are definitely, they come with a premium value, and they have an elevated value. The fin capture is I don't have a fin capture. I've never laid my eyes myself on a fin capture. They're not so rare that you wouldn't ever see one. They just, people know what they are, and they almost always come at an elevated price. So you got to pay a premium for them. And the fin capture is very sought after in the Mosin collectibles market. Another thing to look for is on the date. If you see a date that has, say, 1930 whatever, and then a slash, and then another 2-digit date for the year after that, a double date, that comes with a premium value. And if you see one with an MO mark, which would be stamped under the date somewhere. If you see the MO mark, those come with a premium value. So those are some things to look for on the kind of the external things of the rifle, not the workings of the rifle. When you get into the rifles and you go to pick one up and you start to look at it to see if you want it, you want to make sure that you've got a nice smooth bolt action. And that's not always easy to tell because they're so cosmolined up. But you want to make sure that the bolt works smooth. A lot of times you can't even do that. You want to check your trigger pull, and you want a nice, smooth, crisp trigger pull without too much resistance. Too much resistance can be a real pain, and a tough bolt to close can be a pain too. They're easily fixable problems, but more than you really want to get into when you're looking at them. You should have no problem finding ones that don't have that. And then you're going to look into one thing that if you can find any of the premium things that I mentioned and they don't come with the stuff I'm about to show you, probably worth the investment anyway. But for the most part, just about every Mosin Nagant is going to come with an accessory kit. You come with one of these tool pouches. There's a bunch of tools in here. One of these ammo pouches. These things are outstanding. An oil and solvent can. Very nice. And a sling for your rifle. So you should be able to get the accessory kit along with your rifle. There's no reason that you wouldn't. If you see a rifle that's, it's got an SA mark and it doesn't come with an accessory kit, go ahead and buy that. But if you see a hex Tula that doesn't come with the accessory kit, probably go ahead and buy that. If it's at the regular price, and you can pick up an accessory kit later. But the accessory kits, where you buy them, I've never, except for the Chinese Type 53s that I have, I've never bought one that didn't come with an accessory kit. So you really should be getting those things. I wouldn't go paying extra for them. If you're going to a place that just separates those and charges you for them later, go someplace else. Those places are just trying to rip you off. And one thing I didn't mention that I want to is there is a serial number on your receiver, on your bolt, on your butt plate up here, and on your on the bottom of your trigger guard assembly here. Look for matching numbers, because all matching is definitely preferable than ones that are kind of, you've got a mix-matched one, a mismatched set. You want all matching if you can get it. I hope this is helpful for anybody who's out looking for a Mosin Nagant. I hope that if you go out, maybe you find something that you wouldn't have thought of before, and this video is an aid for you. I'm Van Prepper. Happy shooting.